Hello, Booktube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth. Happy New Year, everyone. This is my first video for the year 2022, and I am so happy to be here again for another year on Booktube. This has just been a fantastic 6.5 years that I have been able to share with you all my reading goals, my reading plans, what I've been reading, and I plan to continue that going forward into 2022. That being said, I've got a boatload of videos that I want to do, including a channel trailer. I have been thinking about that for a while, that I really want to do a channel trailer and kind of reorganize the look of my channel and all of that. So, I'm hoping to get that done sometime this month. And I mean, by the time I get done with the videos about all my goals and wrap-ups from last year, it's going to be time for the Little House Readathon, and then it's going to be time for March Mystery Madness and Amish in April, and the year just rolls on. But let's have a great January. Thank you so much for joining me. But the first thing I want to do is tell you about what I read in the month of December. And something happened. I just realized today, as I was getting ready to film this, something happened with my reading for the month that never happens, at least not in the years since I have been consuming audiobooks. I actually finished more print books than audiobooks this past month. It's amazing. I finished a total of 31 books. 17 of them were in print and 14 were on audio. Who am I? It's really because I just went with my chart again. This is really nothing to look at. All I did was, and I've been doing this now for a few months. I wrote the day of the week, or the day of the month, going across, so I can only get I got about half the month, 16 columns. And then going down here, I wrote the name of the book, an abbreviated name of the book. And then in each square, I wrote the number of pages that I read that day in that book. And then I made a little tiny square. If I read a whole chapter or half a chapter, I wrote in a little tiny square how many chapters that was. And that really helped keep me on track. And I only did this for my print books. I didn't worry about audiobooks because I really don't have trouble getting audiobooks done. I haven't been in quite as much of a mood now in January, and really the last 3 or 4 months of 2021, I wasn't in as much of a mood for audiobooks as I had been previously, because I've been watching and listening to a lot of reseller videos since taking over our eBay business. But still, love listening to audiobooks, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So I usually don't have any problem at all consuming a lot of audiobooks. And I still, I listen to 14 audiobooks, but I read 17 print books, or at least finished. A couple of them were some that I had been reading. I had started several of them I had started previous to the month of December. And if you've been watching me for a while, you may have heard me say I don't like to carry books over from one year to the next. I really don't like to carry over books from 1 month to the next, but I eased up on that restriction this past year for sure. And the books, though, I have to be finished with them at the end of the year so that I can get a good final tally for the year. And if I barely start something, then I just take it back off of my currently reading and put it back on my want to read, and I just restart it in the next year, or whenever I want to read that book. I just restart it so that it's all contained in whatever year. Now, I wasn't always like that. It's really it's Goodreads' fault. That's what it is. It's Goodreads and Booktube's fault. No, it's not Booktube's fault, because plenty of people on Booktube don't care at all about that. And, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little neurotic. I'm sure I'm a little neurotic about a lot of things. But anyway, I personally don't like to carry things over. So I try not to start anything that I don't think I can finish. And if I did listen to a few minutes of a couple of different books, thinking maybe I could get those done, but I you know, I didn't. And so I didn't even add them to my currently reading list. I usually don't put books on my currently reading list until I've read a few chapters. So, or, you know, at least like one chapter or a few pages. So, anyway, now of the print books, 4 of them were children's books. One of them, though, was not a speed read. I mean, I had to read it over several days. It was a Newbery winner. And the others, though, were just short Christmas books that I read with Emily. So they were basically picture books, and they did not take any time at all to read. But that being said, if you take those 3 out of the mix, it's still 14 and 14. So it's still an even split for print books and audiobooks. So whoo, I'm just, you know, amazed at myself. And I will do kind of a wrap up or 2 of my reading challenges for the whole year. Let you know how I did on my Serious About Series list and my other projects. So I won't go into that right now. But I did have a goal. Well, I won't even go into my goals right now. That'll be another video. Let's just talk about December. So of the 31 books, let me just give you a breakdown of the genres. I've got them grouped basically into 4 different categories or genres. Mysteries, there were 10. Yeah, 10 mysteries. 8 of those I would consider cozy, and the other 2, not really cozy, but not really, not gritty or graphic either, just not really cozy. Not considered part of that genre. 6 nonfiction books, and one of those was a graphic novel, which is adapted from a fictional story, but still in the library, they wouldn't be categorized on the shelf with the fiction. So 6 nonfiction, 4 children's books, and the other 11 were some romance, some women's fiction. Some of those were Christian romance. I just kind of lumped them all into that category. Now, of those 4 categories, some out of each one were 16 holiday-themed books, or books that either take place in and around, they were seasonal, basically. So I was real happy about that. There have been years when I've said everything I read in December is going to be Christmas themed, but I was really working hard to finish up some of my projects and things like that. But I'm really happy with that number. I read some very nice, very good seasonal books that I really enjoyed. So, and then I read some that were not seasonal that I really enjoyed. So I had a really good reading month overall. Let's just start with the mysteries. And so again, some of these were seasonal. In fact, several of them were. The 2 that I wouldn't consider cozy mysteries, but still were, you know, not super gritty, just suspenseful, were these 2 Christmas books by Mary Higgins Clark. Both are in the same physical book, but I did have to use 2 different Hoopla Borrows to listen to them. So on Goodreads, I counted them as 2 separate books. So the first one was Silent Night, and then one was All Through the Night. And I'm trying to remember now what they were about. I think one of them was about a young woman who left her baby on a doorstep, and it was a church, I think. And oh yeah, so, and that was All Through the Night. So she leaves her baby, and then she goes around the corner to a phone booth to call and tell them that, you know, kind of leave an anonymous tip that there's a baby. And so when someone picks up, she asks to speak to this particular priest, and someone said, well, he's outside right now because the police are here. And she thought, oh, okay, well, they found my baby, so it's all good. She didn't realize that the police were there because something had gotten stolen. And the thief who stole the item from the church also took the baby and raised it, took the baby to his mother's house and ended up raising it. He didn't realize he was taking the baby. He took what the baby was in and got home and realized it was a baby. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And I can't even remember what Silent Night was about. Let's see. Oh, it was about a little boy who was kidnapped. So both were really good stories, and I would recommend them both. So then I read 3 books out of the same series, and I read this whole series because of book club. For our December pick for my mystery book club, we picked Murder at an Irish Christmas by Carleen O'Connor. Well, this is book 6 in the Irish Village Mysteries. So I started earlier in the year, and I listened to well, thankfully they're all on Hoopla. At least the first 7. So I'm actually listening to book 7 right now. And then a new one comes out, I think, in February. So I will definitely continue the series. I've really enjoyed them. I wasn't sure at the first book that I was going to love it as much as I have, but the main character, Siobhan, is just a great, strong female character. She does have a lot of character and career growth throughout the series, and I won't give spoilers as to what those are, but I have really enjoyed them. So early in the month, I listened to Murder in an Irish Pub. This was really good. I think I rated this one 5 stars. This one was the next one, and I didn't love this one as much, Murder in an Irish Cottage. It's because it had a lot to do with fairy lore, and I just wasn't really interested in that. Wasn't really into the superstition of that, but still not bad. And then I listened to Murder at an Irish Christmas. This was about how our main character, she has a brother who is engaged, and so the premise of the whole thing is that our main character and her siblings, they lost their parents, I think, in a car accident before the series ever starts, and so they have continued to live together, stay together, and Siobhan is their guardian, and she's the oldest sister, and they have a diner or a bistro or something, and it was started by their parents, and they continue to run it. And it's just a really good premise, really good series, and I thoroughly have enjoyed it. So now her oldest brother is engaged, and they have gone to his fiance's family to spend spend Christmas, and the grandfather is murdered. So all very good. And then I also finished a series, actually from beginning to end. I read this series with the Killing Time with Cozy's Discord group, and we read as a group the Kebab Kitchen Mysteries, and so this is book 5, the final book. There may be more in the future, but as of right now, this is the last book, and it's Mistletoe, Moussaka, and Murder by Tina Cashian. I have enjoyed the series. Some books were better than others. Some of the people started reading with us and then didn't finish it because they didn't enjoy it. And, they weren't perfect books, but still enjoyable enough for me to keep reading. During the middle section, when people were quitting and everything, I thought about it because I had to read all these in print, and it made me have to put a couple of my other goals to the back burner, but I really enjoyed reading it with the group. I enjoyed participating in the live stream discussions, and so I'm glad that I stuck with it, and I'm glad that I read the series. I would definitely continue it. And then another series I finished this year, a Cozy Mystery series. This is not the one I read. This is book 3 or 4. 4, I think. The series is the Writers Apprentice series by Julia Buckley. I did finish the last full-length novel in the series, and then in December, and that was earlier in the year, and then in December, I read on ebook on my Kindle the Christmas-themed novella, and it is called A Dark and Silent Night. So I'm not sure what number it is, but I think it's the very last thing that she ever wrote in the series. And as far as I know, the series is done. I'm just holding up this book because this is the only one of the series I own. This was an advanced reader copy that I got from the publisher a couple of years ago, and that's what even turned me onto the series. I didn't know anything about it, and I ended up listening to the whole series on audio and really, really enjoyed it. It's about a young woman who is an aspiring writer, and she gets hired to be the writing assistant and personal companion of an elderly writer, author, who's kind of reclusive, I guess. I don't know. But it just goes from there, and it's very good. Then another audiobook that I listened to that is the fourth in a series. I'll have to put a picture of it here in just a second. It is from the Campers and Criminals mystery series by Tanya Kappas. And it's book 4, which is a Christmas themed book. I have to find the title. Christmas, Criminals, and Campers. So the covers on this series are so cute. A lot of these are on Hoopla on audio. I do plan to read more from this series this year, mainly because in the Killing Time with Cozy's group, we're doing an ABC challenge this year. And I am, you can do all cozy mysteries or all non-cozy mysteries, or you can do both. And I'm just doing the cozy mysteries, and the challenge is to find a cozy mystery that starts with each letter of the alphabet, with a few of the more difficult letters. You can, like Z and X, you can find those anywhere in the title. But for all the rest, except for the few that are designated difficult, you have to find something that starts with that letter. I've been able to really find everything except for Z. And coincidentally, I was just watching a live stream by done by Tanya Kappas, who wrote The Campers and Criminals. All of hers start in that series start with, they have all these different letters, like, and she's doubled up, like, I think there are 2 or 3 titles that start with C, but there's one that starts with V, and there's some hard letters. There's not one for Z, and that's the only one I don't have. So I commented in the chat of her live stream video. I told her a little bit about our challenge, and I said, could you real quick just write a Z book? That's the only one I don't have. And so she said, yeah, I think I could do that. So that would be amazing if she did that. That remains to be seen. I don't know if she could get it done this year, but, maybe she will. I don't know. I hear my phone ringing. Give me a second. Well, it was too late. It already went to voicemail, so I'll get that later. I had a couple of other cozy mysteries. So I finished another series. This is one I started a couple of years ago, the Amish Candy Shop Mysteries by Amanda Flower. This is the most recent book. I think she's still writing this series, but I'm all caught up now. Lemon Drop Dead. I had read the first one a couple of years ago for Amish in April, and it just so happened... Oh, now I hear my voicemail picking up. Anyway, I, at the same time, read the first Amish Quilt Shop Mysteries by Isabella Allen. And I noticed that there was a lot of parallels. They had some similarities, and I found out later that Isabella Allen is Amanda Flower. So I thought, okay, I better not read both these series at the same time, or I'm going to constantly mix them up. There are definitely some differences. They're both worth reading. And so I decided to go ahead and finish the Amish Quilt Shop Mysteries first. And so I read those, I finished those up in 2020. And so then this year I came back to work on the Amish Candy Shop Mysteries. So I've read the whole series except for book 1, all in 2021. Thankfully, they're on audio. Even the novellas are on audio on Hoopla. And I read them all, including the novellas, or I listened to them, and I thought they were great. One of the most fun parts of the series is our main character is dating the detective, which happens so much in cozy mysteries, to the point that's like, okay, they either love them or hate them. The amateur sleuths either literally love the detective, or they can't stand them. Anyway, but that's fine. They're great characters. But his mother has a pet pig named Jethro. Jethro's hilarious. The mother's hilarious. So it's good. And then one of the most anticipated cozy mysteries for this year that I heard so much about before it ever came out was Slashing Through the Snow by Jacqueline Frost. This is book 3 in the Christmas Tree Farm Mystery Series. I always want to mix this up with the year-round Christmas mysteries, which I need. I'm a little bit behind in that series, and I didn't get one of those read in December, but I have it on my January TBR. So that's another thing. Anyway, I did listen to this. This is book 3. Very enjoyable. Highly recommend this series if you enjoy Christmas-themed cozy mysteries. And or just cozy mysteries in general. Start at the beginning, though. I always recommend starting at the beginning of a series. If you like audio, I think they're all still on Hoopla. This one just came out, and thankfully it popped right up on Hoopla, and I was excited. So I'm glad to catch up on that series as well. So I think that's all of the mysteries that I read. And I'm just double checking my list. So, yeah. All right, so let's talk about the children's books. So 3 of them were storybooks that I read with my daughter Emily, and I actually showed those in one of my December videos. I've already donated those books to our little free library. I wanted to get them in there before Christmas, but I'll show you pictures of them. One was a newer edition of The Night Before Christmas by Clement Seymour. It was a beautiful book, and I'll put a picture here. And then another one was called Stories of Santa. It was actually 2 different Christmas songs and just laid out beautifully. I believe it was a Hallmark book. And then the last one was also a Hallmark book, Once Upon a North Pole Christmas. I didn't love it as much as the other 2, but it was cute. And then the other children's book I read is A Newbery Winter. I didn't love this one either. This one was kind of a tough read. This one and the one I read last month, which was Daniel Boone, both Newbery Winners, both from the 40s, and definitely written for a different generation of children. They're pretty harsh. I'm a member of the Choctaw tribe. I am very, very proud of my Choctaw heritage. And it didn't used to bother me when I was younger. And maybe I just hadn't read extensively enough, and I still haven't read extensively enough about how Native Americans were treated. And there's just a lot. So in this book, let me just tell you the book. The Matchlock Gun by Walter D. Edmonds is a story about a pioneer family, I think in the Revolutionary War time, or maybe even prior to that. Let me see if it tells the year. And it is their experiences dealing with Native Americans. And there is death. And it's harsh. I thought it said in here somewhere the year of when this is supposed to take place. Anyway, the book is beautiful. It's got beautiful illustrations, some full color and others that are like charcoal or pencil drawings. So that part was great. It's a hard look at settlers versus Native Americans. Let me just say that. Being on, having ancestry on both sides of the coin, it's tough to read some of these things, but very eye-opening, and it took me a little while to get into it. It was not easy to read. I did listen to it on audio while I was reading it. It's big print, it's a big book, but still just a tough read. And so now, moving on to the nonfiction. I'm happy to say that even though I had this on my currently reading list since January, and I hadn't picked it up since the end of January, or the beginning of January, I did finally read in its entirety Jan Karen's Mitford Cookbook and Kitchen Reader. What was taking me so long? This was delightful. I will have a full review of this since this is one of my literary cookbooks that I own. And I just want to, even though I've made some of the recipes here in the past, I want to maybe prepare 2 or 3 more recipes from this book before I do a full video review. Meanwhile, I don't think I'll read another cookbook this month, but perhaps in February I will pick back up and read another one. So that was really good. There's a lot of excerpts in it from the Mitford books. In fact, it is laid out. This was published after the first 9 books, after Light from Heaven. And so it's laid out in sections so that the recipes here are foods that were talked about in each of the books. So the biggest section is from At Home in Mitford, and then it just goes from there. It goes through each book, and it talks about the recipe, the foods that were mentioned in the books, and it gives the recipes. So it's interesting because Jan Karen also writes a few essays in here about well, in the introduction, I guess, is where she explains that these recipes were non-existent. They were fictitious, but she had a wonderful creative person who, came up with the recipes, tested them, used recipes from various people. Credit is all given here, who the recipes actually came from, and then also came up with some of her own to really fit the parameters given in the book. So it was a delightful book. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to telling you more about it later. The big nonfiction book that I read, the kind of self-helpy kind of book, self-helpy. I heard about this from one of the resellers on YouTube, one of the big ones. It was Daily Refinement, in case you're wondering. And this is called The One Thing, The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. So this was very good, very easy to read. It was just laid out in a very simple format, and I learned a lot from this. It basically, in a nutshell, tells you that multitasking is not the most efficient way to be. You should figure out where you want to focus and do that thing. And that, the theory is that you will be more successful than if you try to multitask and spread yourself too thin. So I thought that was great. Another book that I was reading all year long is with my daughter, Emily. I had gotten her this book late in 2020, I think, and read a few pages, and I thought, we should just go ahead and just read this all year. So we started it at the beginning of the year, but then some days we would forget, but it's really easy to read. You can see this is just one day here. And so we would a lot of times read 2 days and sometimes even 4 days to try to catch up, depending on how many days in between before we would remember to pick it up. And I think she enjoyed this. There would be times that I would say, hey, I'm doing something, but as soon as I get done, I'll be back in here and we'll do your Bible reading. So by the time I would get back in there, she would have this and her Bible out, laying in front of her on her bed, and be ready to go. So I think she did enjoy the book. And then for this month, may as well go ahead and mention devotionals. So I didn't have another devotional book that I was reading this month, because I was just trying to get so many other things read. And usually I read a Journey magazine every month, and I have some backlog issues over here on my shelf, but I didn't have a December one. And so I found this. This was with the stack of Journeys, even though it's called Keys for Kids, Daily Devotionals Using Children's Bible Hour Stories. This is pretty old. I think this is from like 1989. I think it was in a bunch of book sale stuff, and I ended up just keeping it, mainly because there's a cute little kitten on the cover, and I thought, it might have something in here of, of value, and it did. I really enjoyed it. So this is November and December of whatever year it came out. I'm trying to see, 1991. So it is still early 90s. Anyway, I went ahead and read, because it goes through from November 1st to 30th, and then December 1st to 31st. I read, like on December 1st, I read the November 1st devotional and the December 1st devotional. And I just went day by day like that. That was much easier than trying to read the first half, the first half of the month, read November, because I wouldn't be able to keep track of what number I was on. So I just read it according to the day of the month, and I enjoyed this a lot. I'm going to recycle it now. I don't need to keep it, but it was good, and it fulfilled its purpose. It has been read, and it had probably been read before me. I mean, there's coffee stains on it, and it was already pretty well worn out, so it has definitely been used. And then I had three other nonfictions. one of them I just picked up the last couple of days of the month. I wanted to kind of squeeze in one more book. And this is The Bible Cure for Weight Loss and Muscle Gain by Don Colbert, MD. I've got another longer book by him called What Would Jesus Eat? And I want to try to read that this year. I've kind of been on a dietary exploration. We've kind of changed our family diet, and I've gone to more vegetarian, vegan. My daughter Katie is completely vegan, and I've been trying to cook vegan, but then there have been times like when we're out and about, it's just so hard to find anything vegan. So we've stuck pretty close to being vegetarians for the last several months. But anyway, this is not a vegetarian book, but I was just curious about what it had to say. And I've just, like I said, I've just been on kind of a dietary exploration. And I'm not saying that I will continue to always be a vegetarian, but for right now, I'm doing that for just for my own dietary plan, I guess you could say. And then I also read Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jen Campbell. This was so fun. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to pass this on to a book-selling friend. Really cute. And I saw that when I was going to add this to my Goodreads, I saw that there's a second one now. I think it's called More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. And I definitely want to read that too. It was really fun. And then the last one that, based on a fictional story, but still you would find it on the nonfiction shelves at the library. This is The Serpent Shadow by Rick Riordan. This is the graphic novel version of book 3 of the Kane Chronicles, and it is adapted into a graphic novel by Orpheus Collar. This is the last trilogy that I finished in 2021. I had a goal to read or to finish 12 trilogies in middle grade or YA trilogies in the year, and I only finished 8. This was the 8th one, and I knew before even going into this that there were going to be some that I wasn't going to finish this year, and I'm probably going to save those even till next year, because next year for Serious About Series, we're going to focus on trilogies. So I'm going to hang on to those, but I wanted to at least go ahead and finish this last one, because I had read book 2, I guess in November, for the Fall Into Reading Challenge. You always have to have a graphic novel, and that's the hardest thing for me to get done, is a graphic novel. This one was really easier to read than others. It flowed very well, and I remembered to always read it before I put my contacts in. You guys, I know that probably sounds weird, but y'all who are closer to my age, you know that, maybe some of you do, I don't know, everyone's eyes are different. But for me, I can see much clearer close up without any glasses or contacts. Once I put my contacts in, I can see far brilliantly, and I have to have my reading glasses to see close. But even with reading glasses, it's still not super clear. But without my contacts or anything, I can see that tiny print that usually is found in graphic novels. But anyway, the Kane Chronicles are books that are very action-packed, fast-paced. I listened to them on audio, and I think the first 2 books I had to listen to twice to really get the gist of what was going on, because the scenes change, and, you know, they're on one quest, and then they're off to another one, and it just is very fast-paced. So this really helped to bring it home. It helped to really literally give me the visual of the story, and I enjoyed it. And it's, if you've never read the Kane Chronicles, it is based on Egyptian mythology and Egyptian history. Okay, let me show you my last group, which is romance and women's fiction, in just a second. Okay, I'm back. It's actually been 15 minutes. I really just paused the camera to run and check on Emily and see if she needed anything, because I realized I had been, you know, rattling on and on for a while. And I passed through the kitchen and saw the clock on the stove and realized that the post office was closing in 20 minutes. So I had one eBay package to mail, and so we ran to the post office and back. And now I'm back to finish up this video. So how many did I say are left now in the romance / women's fiction category? 11 more books. So a couple of these, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of these worked towards me finishing a series. 5 I finished 5 different series, and the reason there's 6 books is because I had to read the last 2 in a series. So then I had 1 standalone and 2 others that, actually 2 standalones, and then 2 others that were in ongoing series that I've been reading. So I'm just super excited about getting all of these read. So let me just get the book club one out of the way. Our regular book club picked, and by regular I mean not my mystery book club. We have 2 library book clubs, a mystery and then one that's called Literati. So for the Literati book club, we read One Day in December by Josie Silver. It's basically a romance. I thought it was going to be kind of a Christmas romance, but it really took place over quite a few years, and I can't even remember what December had, if December had anything to do with it. Maybe that was when the main characters first saw each other. They didn't even meet until months later, but it was sort of a love at first sight story, and then, nothing goes right for these two, for years and years. So that's kind of the story. I didn't love it, and well, the big reason I didn't love it is because it just had a lot of foul language. There was other aspects about it that I didn't love either, but that was the main thing, really. There was thoughts of cheating, but not really any actual cheating. So that part was kind of a wash, but just the foul language. It's just, no, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. So anyway, but it's a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and so that makes it more popular, and I couldn't get my hands on a physical copy. I did listen to it on Overdrive. And so, one of the ones that I really did enjoy, I read this over the first several days of the month of December. This was a buddy read with Fiona from Reads and Eats. She is a booktuber from Scotland. If you have not ever watched her channel, I encourage you to subscribe. I will put a link in the description below. She is super fun. I love her accent. We really enjoyed this book. This is a inspirational Christian fiction. There's a tiny bit of romance, but it's really just more about this small town. It is historical. It's set in probably 18 something. I don't know what. I should write these things down before I start filming. 1892. Okay. In Stony Creek, Texas. So, that sold me right there. I love 1880s, 1890s, and I love Texas. I love that combination of historical Texas. This was very good. It was about a small town and how they meet and react to presumably, is that a word? Presumably, a person they presume to be a homeless man. And it goes from there. So, very enjoyable. I think we both really enjoyed it. I know I did. And so then, 2 that I made progress in series. This was the very last book I finished in the month. I actually didn't finish it until after midnight, and even the last several chapters, I had to skim and then go back and read more carefully over the next couple of days. But I know I'm horribly legalistic like that. I really wanted to count this for December. I was close to finishing, and I did skim it enough that I could have left it right there and still known what happened. So, for all intents and purposes, that counts. But I did go back and reread the parts that I skimmed, and it was great. I rated it 5 stars even before I did that because I knew that I really enjoyed it. This is book 4 in the Cape Light series. This is the last of the books that don't have an obvious Christmas theme. All the rest of the books in the series have a Christmas theme, Christmas in the title, all of that. This is by Thomas Kincaid and Catherine Spencer, and the last several books since Thomas Kincaid's death have been written solely by Catherine Spencer. I'm so glad that she has continued because there are now over 20 books, and this is just book 4, and they have been delightful. Really have enjoyed them. In fact, I enjoyed this so much that on the day after I finished rereading the parts of this that I had to reread, I started right in on book 5, which is A Christmas Promise. And even though it's January, I may you know, I'm really tempted to just go ahead and keep reading the series. But I have so many other things to read. I at least want to read The Christmas Promise and maybe one more, because that'll be the last book on my Stackmas tree that I started in December or October of 2019. So, it's about time I finished off all the books on that Stackmas tree. Anyway, A New Leaf by Thomas Kincaid and Catherine Spencer. Very, very good. And then I read book 5. Also, this was on my Stackmas tree. Book 5 of the Home to Heather Creek series by Kristen Eckhart. This series has various authors. It's published by Guidepost. The premise is they're these grandparents, I believe they live in Illinois, and they had 3 children. Their oldest son is married with 2 daughters, and they live locally. And then their daughter was estranged from them. She had been living in another state. She had 3 children who they really didn't even have an opportunity to get to know because their daughter had been estranged from them. And then they have another younger adult son who lives in an apartment over their barn and works on the farm. They have a working farm in Illinois. So before the series ever starts, their daughter is killed in a car accident, I think. And so her 3 children come to live with them on the farm, which is Heather Creek Farm. And they are from California, I think San Diego. So they have grown up in the city. I think the oldest is 15 or 16, and then and he's a boy. Then he's got a middle. The next one down is the middle child is a 13-year-old girl, and then the youngest is a boy who's maybe 9 or 10, I think, something like that. So they're not super young. They have, you know, an established life and established traditions and everything in San Diego. So this is book 5, and each book takes place, you know, 1 month after the next. So they have been there less than a year. This is their first Christmas with their grandparents, and they are just trying to not think about the fact that this is their first Christmas away from their mom. The grandparents really want to give them some new traditions to, you know, to kind of get their mind off things, but at the same time they want to recognize that these children have established traditions with their mother that, you know, they need to respect and try to work through. So anyway, I thought this was a very good book. They are Christian fiction, obviously published by Guidepost, so it's going to be inspirational and not mysteries, though, just feel good stories, family drama, and I really do want to go ahead and try to read one of these every month this year. I'm not even sure how many there are. I think I have all of them. These were gifted to me by a church friend several years ago. I finally got started on these a couple years ago, and I had not picked up one since 2018 or 2019, and I really do want to get back into this. They're like 200 pages, so they're not long books at all. Very easy to read, and actually more like 250 pages. Anyway, very good. I'm excited that I got another one read. So the rest of these are all series finishers. I don't have book 5 of the Dearest Dorothy, Welcome to Partonville series by Charlene Ann Bombick, but I did listen to it on audio. It was called Dearest Dorothy, Marry Everything, and then I listened to Dearest Dorothy, If Not Now, When? And incidentally, the first book is Dearest Dorothy, Are We There Yet? It's a 6-book series. They're all on audio. I listened to this first book, I think last December, and they're all, you know, super short, quick audiobooks, very endearing. Dearest Dorothy really is, Dorothy is a dear. It is appropriately named. It's a story about a small town and the people in it. There is a character who is introduced right at the beginning of the series who is from a big city, and I can't even remember what brings her to the small town of Partonville, but she ends up staying, her and her son, and it's just their story of getting acclimated to a small town life, and how Dorothy figures into all of that. She's a great character. These are not funny like the Miss Julia series. The Miss Julia series is just hilarious, I think, my opinion. But they're just sweet. They're inspirational. I just enjoyed them a lot. It's a series I would definitely reread, and I'm going to hang on to them even though I finished them, and I'm still looking for book 5. It's called Marry Everything, and I need to find myself a copy of it. I may just have to break down and order one online. Now that I've been selling on eBay, I am a lot more likely to buy on eBay, so that's what I need to do. I need to just go ahead and buy it already. Okay. Another series that I finished were the last okay, it's one book, but it's 2 stories. The last 2 stories, I'm trying to get my grammar right. The last 2 stories in the Military Canine Unit series. They are both in this book. This is a series I was introduced to by Catherine from Jane Catherine on Books, and I listened to almost all the full-length novels are on Hoopla now, on audio. So I did read the first 1 or 2 in print, and then I discovered them on audio, and I was like, oh, this is great. There is a 0.5 novella that I bought on my Kindle, and I read that, and then these, I don't know why these are not on audio. They would be great. They're great stories. I really enjoyed them. The overarching mystery that was carried through the series of the main novels was finished in the book before this. But these 2 shorter stories do mention that. It's set on the same military base as the rest of the series. And hang on one second. It sounded like the dogs were in distress, so I paused it, but they were fine. My husband just got home from work, so they were carrying on because they love him. And we all love him. So anyway, the 2 stories in this are called, one is called Christmas Escape, and one is called Yuletide Target. I just really enjoyed these. They were super fast to read, and I have been collecting now over the course of this year several more of these Canine Unit series, and I need to kind of take stock of what I have now and see. Only one of the other series that I've collected are on Hoopla, so that'll probably be the series that I start next. But I've got 3 or 4 more series, all put out by Love Inspired Suspense, Harlequin, and all have something to do with canine. And so this was so good, and a lot of the authors are the same. So I'm really expecting to enjoy all of the rest of the series as well. So anyway, I'm glad that I finished this one. Now I think I have all the books. I may be missing 1 or 2, but I'm going to probably package them all up, list them on eBay. So if you're interested in reading this series, then let me know, and I'll let you know when I get them listed. So then I have, oh, I had one other standalone that I forgot about. I'll save it to the end. I sort of say, remind me to not forget it. How can you remind me? Okay. 3 more books that finished series for me. This was a trilogy. I listened to the first 2 on Audible Plus late last year. This was book 3 and the final book in the Dixie trilogy by Lisa Patton. This has just been a fantastic series. It is very clean. It's not a Christian series either. It's just clean. This one might have had a couple of cuss words, but real mild. No F word or anything like that. The first book is called Whistling Dixie in a Nor'easter, and it was so good. There was so much drama, but yet she told the whole story without a single cuss word. And I just think that's fantastic. To me, that's really the mark of a good writer. If you don't feel like you have to fall back on swearing to write a good story, because I just loved it. I thought it was great. Anyway, this was very good. I didn't love this quite as much as the first one, but still a very good book. And did I say what it's called? Southern as a Second Language by Lisa Patton. Then I finished 2 different series by Adriana Trigiani. This one I own all 4 of these books. The first book is Big Stone Gap, and then I think the second one is Big Cherry Holler, or is that the third one? And then I forgot what the third one is. I don't know. Anyway, this is book 4, Home to Big Stone Gap. And this is also this was a new to me author. I started to say this year, but I think I read or listened to the first book by her last December. It was a beautiful book with roses on the cover. I was really drawn to the cover. I think it was called Kiss Carlo. And again, another author that can write a great story without resorting to a lot of cuss words. So, great. Anyway, I had picked up this series just, here and there at book sales. I think the very first one I ever saw was at Dollar Tree, and it intrigued me, and I put it on my TBR, and then later, I might have bought a copy at Dollar Tree, and it was $1. I think I didn't, though. I think I waited until I found it for like fill a bag or whatever. But anyway, I have all 4 of them now. I don't know if I will keep them to read again, but I enjoyed them a lot. I listened to them on audio, and just a very good family drama, a little bit of romance, just a lot of small town drama. And it takes place in West Virginia. And I just really enjoyed it, the whole series. I can't remember what a person in a dress walking in the snow had to do with anything, but still a good book. And then, because I had started that series, I found the Valentine trilogy on Hoopla or CD. I don't know. I think I got them on CD from my library. And this last one, though, this third book, is on Overdrive and maybe Hoopla as well. But I think I listened to it on Overdrive. Anyway, this is the Valentine trilogy. It's about shoemakers. So I couldn't figure out what Macaroni had to do with anything. But when you read this third book, you do see what that had to do with anything. Anyway, this is The Supreme Macaroni Company by Adriana Trigiani. It's a trilogy, and it's about a family of shoemakers, cobblers in New York City. And it's very good. I just really enjoyed it. Again, family drama, family business drama, and great cast of characters. And part of the series takes place in Italy, and just very good. I enjoyed it. So, needless to say, Adriana Trigiani is definitely an author I will read more from, for sure. I have read, I think the only books that I owned by her were Kiss Carlo and the 4 books in this series. I did pass my Kiss Carlo book on to my library book club. Every year at Christmas, we always have a book club party, and we have a White Elephant book exchange. And so that book was so beautiful, but I have crowded shelves, and I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and give this as my White Elephant. So to play the game, we wrap up our books, and then we write clues about the books on the wrapping paper. So I put on that one, "This will look beautiful on your shelves." Sorry. Hang on one second. Sorry, I needed a cough, but I don't like to cough on camera if I can help it. Okay, so anyway, I don't have it anymore, and I will probably go ahead and pass these on as well, but I still want to read more books by her. And I think that's everything. Is that everything? I think it is. Anyway, let me know if you have read any of these books. We'll chat in the comments if you are interested in reading any of these books. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it so much. I hope to be back very soon with another video. And meanwhile, I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you. I hope you stayed around, because I did forget that last standalone. It was by Debbie Macomber. It's just not Christmas unless you read a good Debbie Macomber Christmas book. And this is one of the best ones that I've read. Aside from Mrs. Miracle, which I think is probably my favorite Christmas book that I've read so far by her. This is The Christmas Basket. This is one of her older ones. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was about some feuding families, and the son of one and the daughter of one fell in love in high school and were about to elope, and something happened and they didn't. And then they never saw each other for 10 years. And then the girl who had basically run away and didn't want to come back home because she didn't want to face this ex-fiance, she finally is talked into coming back home for her sister's wedding. And of course, who does she meet on the train or plane or whatever, headed home? Him. It was a really cute story. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. The mothers who started this feud to begin with, their stories and their interactions with each other is funny, and it was just all really good. I thought it was a great book. So it's The Christmas Basket. Now, if you look on Hoopla, the cover looks nothing like this. It's like a bright green with red Christmas balls on the cover. This one is very subdued compared to the other cover. But anyway, this is what my library had, and I always like to have a physical copy to show you. If I think about it, I will put a picture of the cover that I actually saw on that caught my attention on Hoopla. Anyway, this is The Christmas Basket by Debbie Macomber. All right, now we're done. I hope you're having a great day. As I said before, read a good book, and God bless you.